Cricket time now on the SportsMax Zone. Fast bowler Kemar Roach said he decided to take things step by step and run by run as he led the West Indies to a pulsating one-wicket win over Pakistan in the first test, the first of two tests at Sabina Park. Chasing 168 to win, the Caribbean side eked out victory on the back of 55 from Jermaine Blackwood, 22 from Roston Chase, and Roach's chance-filled unbeaten 30. Ricardo Chambers looks back at Sunday's fourth and what turned out to be final day.
Pakistan resumed day 4 at 160 for 5 in their second innings. The overall lead was 124, but with life aplenty in the Sabina surface, the Windies needed to quickly wrap up the Pakistani innings, and that they did, dismissing the visitors for 203, a lead of 167. Jayden Seales took centre stage, becoming the youngest Windies bowler to bag 5 wickets in a test at 19 years and 339 days.
So, taking the record from Alf Valentine, this young man has created history.
Seales ending with 5 for 55 for a match haul of 8 for 125.
And that is very well caught. That ball stayed up a long time.
168 might have seemed like a straightforward target, but from the onset it was clear it was not going to be. The Windies were in early trouble, slumping to 16 for 3. The left-arm fast bowler Shaheen Shah Afridi accounting for Kyron Powell, Craig Brathwaite the captain, and Nkrumah Bonner.
Clean them up.
Jermaine Blackwood and Roston Chase steadied the ship. Together they added 68, the innings' most fruitful partnership. But the door was reopened when Chase edged to slip on 22. It was 4 for 84. Blackwood was crucial in the West Indies chase. He got to 50, his 15th in tests and 4th at Sabina Park.
And another landmark and milestone for him.
At the other end, though, Mears' struggles with the bat continued. Back-to-back ducks for him. And the loss of Blackwood, followed by Holder, turned the tide Pakistan's way, with the West Indies 7 for 114 and 54 runs away. Pakistan made things difficult for themselves with chances spurned in key moments. De Silva was put down on 3 before going on to make a crucial 13. Roach gave 3 chances, this the second of them.
Was that the match?
Wicketkeeper Mohammed Rizwan took a stunner to remove Jamil Warkan, and with 17 still to get, Pakistan seemed to have done enough. But Roach and Seales held calm heads, Roach capitalising on his chances to get to 30 not out and take the Windies to a memorable victory.
The West Indies have won a most remarkable test victory.
So the West Indies 1-0 up in the 2-match series. The second test starts on Friday, also at Sabina Park.
Yeah, Kemar Roach joining Sobers, Marshall and Ambrose as West Indies players with 1,000 test runs and 200 test wickets. We are now joined by international cricket commentator Fazeer Mohammed to look back at the opening test match. Faz, a general overview of what was a tough match for both teams, batting conditions difficult, but good to see the West Indies coming out on top.
Absolutely, Lance. No question about it. You have to give the West Indies credit for battling, because remember, 16 for 3, 114 for 7, and with the batting to come, not really the type of players, even Joshua De Silva, who is more stodgy, more defiant. You would think that inevitably Pakistan would prevail. But the one intangible with both teams is that you can never rely on them to do anything that you predict. And it was almost, and I'm sure you call it, that pulsating finale in Antigua in the year 2000 when Jimmy Adams was able to capitalize on a couple of poor umpiring decisions, missed runouts, errors by a panicking Pakistan team to take the West Indies to what was then a series-clinching 1-wicket victory with Courtney Walsh at the other end. So it almost seems standard that whenever Pakistan come to the Caribbean, in one of those matches, one of those test matches, you'll get that sort of drama. And in the end, credit to the West Indies for battling all the way through. Because even with that last wicket pair, 17 with the last pair, it just takes one ball to clean you up. But again, credit to Kemar Roach, as he described it, the best innings he has ever played. And credit to Jayden Seales, it was certainly his day yesterday.
Yeah, I think there's something about Kemar Roach and Sabina Park, Faz, because I remember him playing briefly for the Kingston Cricket Club in the Senior Cup competition, probably 14 or 15 years ago. He had a short stint playing Senior Cup in Jamaica and actually scored 100 himself and Brendan Nash in one of the club games there. So he may recall that as well. But to be fair, a lot of batting failures in this test match for both teams. We heard Ricardo mention there the two batting failures from Kyle Mears. Bonner also failed. But Brathwaite's innings in the first knock and then Jermaine Blackwood's innings, second innings, were really pivotal to the West Indies. And of course the back end fight with Kemar Roach and so on. But amidst the batting failures, some grit from the West Indies players to fight and get the victory.
And that's all you can ask for. And yes, we shouldn't overlook the fact that the batting remains a concern. It's very, very fragile. It's very, very frail. There seems to be a collapse around the corner at any time. So in comparing some of these tussles, and I've seen already on Cricinfo and elsewhere, they're comparing it with a similar clash in 1988 where Abdul Qadir played out the last over with the last pair at the crease to ensure a draw at Queen's Park Oval. Well, really, you can't compare what went on in 1988. You're talking about two great teams with some of the greatest players ever. Here, you've got two teams with unpredictable players, good players, decent players, half decent players, some who are really struggling. This is the equivalent of a mid-table second division encounter if you're talking about Test cricket and the highest level of Test cricket. But it made for riveting action because they almost cancelled each other out in the combination of grit, unpredictability, mediocrity here and there. But from a West Indies point of view, for Jermaine Blackwood to get that half century, you almost on a balance beam with Jermaine Blackwood because you feel he's going to get out at any minute. Sooner or later, one of those attacking shots is going to bring about his demise. But the plus about it is that the bowling side can never relax once he's at the crease because he's always looking to score. He always gives the bowling side a chance. Invariably, he might forfeit. That's why he's only averaging 30, 31. But when he comes good and in a low-scoring game, if you get 55, that's really critical.
Definitely, Faz. And Jermaine Blackwood, of course, in the post-match interview, spoke about the work that he's been putting in. He says that, early in the mornings before matches or on their off days, he and Craig Brathwaite would go down to Sabina Park, of course, with the coach and put in the work. And we see him reaping the rewards. He says, he doesn't want to give away his wicket like before because he knows that the team depends on him to bat.
Well, that's precisely what he did in the first innings. That's why he hung his head when he played that mistime drive and was caught at mid-on. Because I'm sure everyone familiar with Jermaine Blackwood would have been saying, well, look, typical Jermaine Blackwood, looking good, looking settled with Roston Chase and then giving it away. And that is really what he needs to work on. And it's a credit to him because we saw a bit of that even in the series against South Africa. There was a clear indication that he was trying his best to curb that natural tendency to drive over the top. Because when you're driving over the top, especially when it's seaming around, especially when there's uneven bounce, you are going to give the bowlers a chance. But at the end of it all, even as he fell again, wafting outside the off stump to a catch, a slip, the point is he got 55. And you really can't ask for more than that in a situation like what happened yesterday.
Definitely. And speaking about impressive performances, we have to talk about the bowling because without, outstanding performances from the 19-year-old Jayden Seales, he was able to pick up 5 wickets. He seems as if he's been getting the line and length right. And of course, he's able to outsmart the batsmen in other teams.
Jayden Seales is someone, and it's not me saying it, it's everyone in the camp when you hear them talk about Jayden Seales. When you hear Kemar Roach talking about Jayden Seales yesterday, he described him as someone special. Now, we've heard this before, but the fact that he's taken 5 wickets, the youngest ever for the West Indies in Test cricket, that's a fantastic sign. The challenge for the young man is to keep a level head on his shoulders. We've seen far too many West Indies cricketers, bowlers and batsmen. We could highlight so many names just within the last decade of players with either ball or bat who look the genuine article, but up to now have so far failed to reach that level of consistency. And it's not about crying down anyone. It's about recognizing, and him recognizing, and I suspect that he does, because I think he's got some wise heads around him.
Yes.
To remind him of just how difficult this thing called Test cricket is, because it could be 5 for 55 today. First day of the next test match could be none for 75. That's just how it goes sometimes. And you really need to learn from every opportunity. And I think having Kemar Roach bowling, sharing the new ball with him, is a fantastic learning opportunity as well. Because what Kemar lacks in pace now, he makes up for in his knowledge, in his understanding, in his appreciation of the conditions, who he's bowling to. And even if he may not get a bag full of wickets every time, he's always challenging the batsman. And I think that's an object lesson to someone like Jaden Seals, with so much ahead of him, recognizing that he's got to keep a level head, because if you don't, and if you start to think, well, you've made it already, Test cricket can really sort you out very quickly.
Definitely can sort you out. And of course, the second test bowls off on Friday. Are we changing the winning team?
I think there should be some consideration, because Jamel Warrican was hardly used. I don't think the captain showed a tremendous amount of faith in him. And even though you've got Nkrumah Bonner and Kyle Mayers, they started tremendously in Bangladesh. But look at their numbers. It's starting to come back towards the rest of the team. They're averaging over 40 still, but everyone else is averaging in the 30s. So will there be any consideration about a Shamar Brooks? Remember, Shamar Brooks got 100 in the warm-up match and wasn't considered in the final 11. So you often hear people say, well, you shouldn't change a winning 11. I don't see that being very logical if there are clear deficiencies that you need to work on, because you might pay a very heavy price of allowing those deficiencies to continue when the next match comes around.
Yeah, Faz, as usual, great talking to you. The past 24 hours of pulsating Test cricket, because that was the India-England result today. That was a tremendous advert for Test cricket. I know it's your favorite form of the game, so we leave it there and talk again soon.
Let's say I'm a smiling dinosaur today.
Yeah, I wanted to make the point, Mariah, before we wrap the segment, that winning and losing, the difference between winning and losing and the reaction from the fans, sometimes it's very curious the way fans react. And I just want to say that Jermaine Blackwood, and Faz mentioned it just now, we know his tendency to be a shot player, and he's often criticized for it, but there's such a thin line sometimes between bravery and recklessness. And without Jermaine Blackwood's bravery yesterday, the West Indies would not have won the match. And if we had lost, we'd hear a completely different story. But there was an element of bravery on his part that helped the West Indies to win the match. And even though there is a little recklessness in his tendency with his shot making and so on, without his bravery on Sunday, the West Indies would not have won this match.
I agreed, but I just wish that the West Indies wouldn't put us in such a position where we need to decide between bravery and reckless, and we can just get the runs at the top of the order.
Yeah.
Let's go to break.